Hey everyone, welcome to Tales in Text, and I'm your host Nisha. And today we are doing another books and tarot episode. And in today's book review episode, we are going to be reviewing Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh. So Lapvona has been on my wish list for quite some time, since the time the book was released, and finally I got the opportunity to get the book on Audible and to listen to it. And it has been an interesting experience. So first of all, I do have to say that absolutely every trigger warning under the sun has to be given for this book, because Ottessa has quite literally, used a no holds barred approach to write this book. There is everything from self-harm to murder to cannibalism to rape to incest to slavery to human rights abuse to child abuse, sexual abuse, and just a lot of triggers that can put anyone on the edge. And this book is just not for someone who is super sensitive or at this moment in an emotionally vulnerable place, because although this is a fiction, and it kind of straddles the line between fantasy and reality, the themes that this book leverages upon to create the narrative are very real. And some, if not all, of these triggering experiences can be, really emotionally challenging to deal with. So I would say just take a stock of where you are right now and choose to whether just either read this book or to completely skip it or to maybe just keep it for another day. All right, now if you have chosen to go ahead with this, you are in for an interesting ride, because the first 70% of the book at least is really gripping. We follow the stories of various characters, such as Marek, the shepherd boy with who's lost his mother and is living with his father. Jude, we follow the tale of Ina, the girl who is forced to take to the woods after an illness that devastates her entire family, and then she becomes the local witch woman. We follow William, who is the lord of Lapvona, and his life of indulgence that kind of borders on just shamelessness. We follow the lives of Barnabas, the priest of Lapvona, and this is a really very interesting character where we also take into consideration the evolution of religion. And the book sort of makes a commentary on the way religion kind of progresses through the eyes of Barnabas, and you really you start to question whether religion still remains holy today or not just in the setting of Lapvona, not just in this fantastical fictional setting, but also in our day-to-day lives. Does religion still remain holy? Is religion holy, or is it something that has been corrupted and bent out of shape and has become unrecognizable? And in fact, it's this characteristic of evolving in this really twisted way through all these deviances, that is reflected in the characters as well. Every single character in Lapvona lives their life on the edge, in that gray, they wade in the gray waters of morality. That's how I like to put it, because everything that they do is highly questionable and just sometimes downright criminal. And yet there is no such thing as punishment or retribution. Not everyone who does something evil or bad gets their comeuppance. So Lapvona really brought up a lot of interesting moral debates and philosophical perspectives for me in terms of how to qualify between good and bad, negative and positive, and also to consider the justifications of people when they commit a particular act. Can you justify something which is normally considered morally reprehensible if the circumstances and situations that they are in forces them to do something like this, or is something that justifies their actions. So there are a lot of moral questions and ambiguous situations that you will have to contend with as a reader. So it's quite an interesting book for the most part. Like I said, at least 70% of the book will keep you hooked because it's something that really draws you in. It's very I don't like to use the word addictive because it's a negative term, but I think that's the term that kind of fits really well with this book. But the last 30% kind of felt really draggy and just kind of rushed to completion. It felt like Ottessa kind of took these characters to a particular point in the story, after which she didn't know how to kind of progress and where to take these characters next. And so it just kind of, the narrative just kind of became a little repetitive and just going around in circles until finally Ottessa just kind of tied the ribbon and just said, hey, okay, fine, you know what, in a very predictable ending. I mean, once you start listening to the book, you will kind of predict the ending as you keep going ahead. So definitely I would say that don't expect Lapvona to be 100% incredible or breathtaking, but it is definitely interesting. It's definitely really different, really unique, very morally questionable. So you will definitely have fun reading the book or listening to the book on Audible, but don't expect it to kind of just, you know, blow your socks off, as they say. To me, this book represented a commentary on the evil that is there in our psyche. You know, sometimes this evil can be a result of the life that is handed down to us, or it could be as a result of certain decisions that we do or don't make, or certain actions that we do or don't do. Or it could also be something that we are inherently born with, this evilness that we are born with, and that we choose not to repress, or you are unable to repress it, to hold it in. Every character is inherently human, is flawed. Sometimes you find yourself feeling sorry for them, but sometimes you find yourself really hating them. And that's what makes it fun. The characters have been really well fleshed out. And like I mentioned, you know, through the character of the priest Barnabas, Ottessa also makes a commentary on religion and how religion is sort of masquerading as something holy, but a lot of parts of religion are actually unholy as well. And as someone who lives in India and who's seeing how, you know, certain political parties are using Hinduism to justify their greed, their you know, their misogyny, their stereotypes and their prejudices in the name of the religion, a religion which is inherently not this divisive or not this prejudicial or not this brutal, but they still use the name of religion to further their own greed and their own political causes, right? So I can understand why this is a commentary on this book is a commentary on religion as well, because this book is inherently very, very religious, because a lot of the actions and thoughts that the characters indulge in have a very religious, strong religious fervor to them. So yeah, this book is pretty good. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Ottessa Moshfegh has narrated the book for Audible, and while the author doesn't really have a great vocal range, it's quite monotonous, the tone that the author uses. The narration is passable, and you can definitely enjoy the Audible version as well. Now we have come to the final part of this episode, which is the tarot card that I've pulled for this book. And the tarot card that I have pulled for Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh is the Six of Cups. So the reason I pulled out the Six of Cups is because the Six of Cups inherently is a card of past relationships, of childhood, in very specifically of our childhood experiences and of our growing up years. And we see through many of the characters, whether it's Marek, Ina, Jude, or William, we see that it is their childhood which shapes them into who they become in the future, and the kind of decisions that they take and the kind of actions that they indulge in. And so to me, this card really represents the essence of this book. That's because, when you look at a tree might look solid and sturdy, but you don't really know what's happening underneath the soil. You don't know what's happening with the roots. The roots, may in some cases be really young and strong, and then that's great. But oftentimes certain trees might look great, but their roots are completely rotted, and because of this rotting, it's very easy to kind of push them over or do things which can make them topple and even cause harm to the surrounding trees or to the people or animals who are resting under the trees, and these roots can wreak a lot of damage. So for me, the roots represent the childhood, the growth, the development, the both the the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual development that a person is subjected to or the person goes through, and how this kind of informs them as adults. And so I also find, even in the scope of looking at this book as a commentary on religion, what are the foundations of the religions that we follow, right? That the religions that we practice, the religions that we study, and how, okay, where was the seed, or how was the seed initially? How did it grow, and what kind of tree did it become ultimately? And how are we growing? In which direction are we going? Are we going to be the plants that support, or is this religion going to be the plant that supports its neighbors or supports the forest that it lives in? Or is it going to be a cannibal that kills off other plants in its pursuit of growth, right? So for me, that's why Six of Cups feels like the perfect card for Lapvona. And so that's what I'm gonna end with for this video. So yeah, definitely it's a good book to pick up, but don't really expect something miraculous out of it, because it's not super great, but it's definitely interesting enough if you're able to get with all of the really, really problematic themes. All right, if you've stuck around with me so far, thank you so much for watching, and I will meet you next time on Tales in Text. Bye bye.